Welcome, everyone. My name is Karen Mazzola. I am your Vice President for Educational Development and work with the Education Commission, which includes the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Justice Subcommittee. I want to welcome you all today and introduce you to our President, who will bring us greetings, Carolyn Nelson Goddard.
Well, hello, everyone. Greetings from stormy South Florida, where it is thundering, lightning, and pouring rain. I hope all of you are someplace safe and dry, and that you continue to be so. So welcome to today's edition of Road to Success. As we near the end of the year, this will be one of our almost final sessions. So I'm very glad that today we're dealing with the subject matter of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, which is a subject matter that is very near and dear to my heart, and an arena in which I have played for quite some time. I'd like to take a moment to introduce the members of the Executive Committee, the Board of Directors, and our staff who are able to join us today. You've already met Karen Mazzola, the Vice President for Educational Development, and I'm calling on everyone in the order that I see them. Melanie Williams, our Secretary.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us.
I don't see any other EC members. Are there, Melanie or Karen? Just us, just us, just us. Get it? That's my joke for the day, guys. All right. All right. So Board of Directors members, Kay Hawkins is our Central Region Coordinator, Central Region Representative.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you. Who am I missing here? Kimberly, where are you? Kimberly McCumber, where are you?
Hi, I'm here.
There you are. Please say hello to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you. We have Melanie Gamble, Escambia County Council President.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there. Jude Bruno, Treasurer, has just joined us.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. And I think that takes care of our EC and our members of the Board of Directors. And I'm going to turn it over to the Diversity, Equity, Justice Subcommittee Chair, Dr. Nicholas Nelson Goddard, taking a moment of personal privilege, the reason my heart beats.
Thank you very much. Today is pretty important in terms of our topic specifically. And I do rope in our community in South Florida. And apologies if some of the background noise creeps in. It looks like a thunderstorm has just started where I am. But you know, Mother Nature, it had to rain. So our topic today would be honoring the past and celebrating the present. So thank you for attending this discussion. It actually is pretty fun in terms of presenting some new ideas of how we can enhance our learning, enhance our connection to community. So without further ado, I'm Dr. Nicholas Nelson Goddard, and I also have another member of the subcommittee, Dinah Delgado. All right, so let's share the screen. Your screen. Show. So what we'd have is actually split into a couple of different ideas that are closely related in terms of using the community as its own educational resource, community both in terms of people as well as physical spaces, and also in using that for the benefit of your own knowledge, the knowledge of any students that are in your social circles, as well as using those same resources to benefit PTA meetings that you would have to increase engagement, to increase the amount of fulfillment that people get from meetings, as well as getting more people to attend meetings. So let's go to the baseline question of why community matters. And we would see that education is enriched by connecting to the world around us. And if education is just limited to theory, it's just limited to basic ideas, it's much less transformative in terms of our own lives and transformative in terms of our connection with other people. So we would want to make the connection between community and PTA, community and our own organizations and behavior to provide a real way of authentic learning, because experiences are often what counts in terms of long-term learning. So we'd want to have these very tactile, relevant experiences. As well, for students, it helps them to understand diverse narratives and to build empathy, because they're able to actually go to the physical settings that different groups of people, different types of people would experience. So this leads us to the idea of the power of place, of physical place. We'd see that physical places, they hold stories and they hold meaning, just really beyond the physical objects themselves that create them, but in terms of the symbolism. So what I have in the picture is Freedom Tower in Miami, which is near the Kaseya Center. And Freedom Tower holds a special place in the hearts of many within South Florida, especially in the Cuban American community. It's often referred to as the Ellis Island of the South, because it was a place where people who were fleeing Cuba in 1959 were processed in order to become citizens of the United States. So it's seen as a place where people would reform their lives and become part of the larger American society. So it's in a way symbolically emblematic of the American dream. So just beyond its architecture, which I'm a fan of, it is a socially, culturally, and historically significant place. And by finding places similar to this throughout your own communities, you can develop the connections between students as well as yourselves and the locations in which you live. So in a way, we can see that the community is an unlimited classroom. So all around us would include buildings and places and gathering spots that hold a social significance and who can be transformed as a result to be very meaningful in terms of knowing details about them. So how can we leverage this local history? So I want to be in terms of uncovering community narratives, understand that different places would hold different meanings based off of the community. You can see that every community's history is shaped by diverse groups. So what I have on the right is a picture of Virginia Key Beach. So within South Florida, we would see that we had segregation through the mid-1960s. And segregation included a wide variety of different locations, including the beaches. So different racial groups couldn't go to different beaches. Particularly, we'd see that African Americans couldn't go to white beaches, but African Americans were allowed to go to Virginia Key Beach. So even though it's obviously not the case today, but even acknowledging this and going to these locations can help to frame history in terms of what has occurred in the same physical places that are around today. So it can put your own history in its own context. So some strategies for uncovering these community narratives include hearing and encouraging oral histories, especially from people who've experienced a significant amount of history. So you can think of elders as being really valuable resources. Also examining artifacts, taking walking tours. I really like this idea of walking through these physical locations to really appreciate these areas for their own positions within history. Also, we can connect to the curriculum in which we would examine, for instance, local immigration narratives to examine broader historical and cultural movements. So what I have on the right would be a picture of a Filipino American Community Center in South Florida, which is part of the broader narrative of the Filipino community moving to South Florida, in part because of our military bases within the area. As well, we would see that we can help students connect to other community centers such as this, and link it to what they are discussing within the classroom. As well, can have these types of informal field trips. So it doesn't have to necessarily be through a school setting. Parents, other caretakers can schedule these or have them as random fun adventures in an afternoon to just go to these locations and to observe history. So create your own field trips. So I have Historic Overtown as one example. So founded 1896 as part of the founding of the city of Miami. And that's where my mother's from, the current president. So yes, just trying to think of these history within your community ideas. So heritage museums, so every community would have some type of either formal or informal museum that can be used to understand these as well. Again, walking tours, I'm a big fan of. As well, so to recognize community assets, so try to create lists and understand how these spaces would hold a significant amount of information and symbolism and connections with different communities. And one of these ideas could be to explore different religious and cultural centers, places of worship. So you can visit a local mosque or a temple or a church as a way to observe different types of practice within the community. So with that, we have the concept of rotating PTA meetings. Diana.
Some of the benefits of rotating the PTA location is that it reduces attendance barriers for families. It signals that all families are valued and welcomed. It helps strengthen PTA relationships with outside organizations, and it increases PTA participation and diversity. Potential rotating venues can be community centers. Libraries are a good resource for that. There are recreation centers and museums. Some of the hosting considerations that we should have are accessibility, which include transportation, parking, etc. Accommodation needs, language, disabilities, or scheduling sensitivities for venues.
So path forward, some suggestions for you all would be to map out these local historical sites. So you can use the web to get these historical sites, but I also encourage you to reach out to community organizations to provide some ideas of places to go, things to do as well. Perhaps even coordinate with these organizations. And to try to space this out, perhaps every quarter or every semester, you can have these field trips to rotate PTA meetings across different settings. So we had the example, have the examples in terms of the different libraries. I think that's a really good resource to do, particularly if you're at the for PTAs at the county council level. Having different libraries could be one resource, but also different community organizations. But you can also think of unions. You can think of nonprofits, other nonprofits as well, and partnering with them to have different meetings in the different places. And also starting a community resource directory for families, because many people would be interested in having these meetings in different locations. So if you have a list for people to already have a pre-made set of places to go, I think it would be really valued. So some direct resources. So book that would be pretty good for this would be The Power of Place by Dolores Hayden. So this gets more into the granular detail about the importance of symbolism and location, and to really take stock of the symbolic power of different buildings and different social settings. Also some articles. So we have, well, this is more of an academic article. So it examines different types of interactions between the school and the community. So whether it's engagement or collaboration, so it gets into some of the nuances of that. But regardless, it goes into some detail of some ideas of what this can look like. So both are good, collaboration as well as engagement. But you'd want to have as much interaction as possible. Well, as much progressive interaction as possible for the benefit of both groups. As well, some other articles that we would have would include these from Edutopia. So 5 steps to better school community collaboration. As well, we'd have Just Ask strategies for building community partnerships. So with that, I can entertain any questions.
Can you drop those links in the chat?
Ah, yes. All right, let's put the links in the chat.
Gamal has his hand raised.
All right, getting the links. Right, 1 second, Gamal. I think Melanie as well. Okay, yes, all right, Gamal.
Hello, everyone. Nick, I joined you with the rainstorms going on here in Central Florida also. So welcome to Florida, everyone. One of the things you mentioned about venues, we did a great highlight of South Florida, but I know in places like Orange, places like Tampa, places like Jacksonville, we do have our professional sports teams also, and some of our college locations, which a lot of times host camps and so on and so forth for the youth that we may have missed in the past, and maybe asking them to partner with us to either use a meeting space to have in a stadium or something like that, or have a night or day at one of their games or something, could entertain some folks who may not have come out before. So a different type of diversity of our people who may come out. Because not everyone who's a sports person wants to come out to a sporting event, but sometimes they just want to see something different, do something, try. There's no better walking tour than walking a sports stadium to go around and sometimes just see the funny things that happen, the mascots, the stuff that can inspire people sometimes to engage in a different way. So I do like the idea of rotating the venues around and keeping the minds up for that. Arts and entertainment cultural centers, the performing arts centers and stuff like that are great places to ask, hey, can we bring a meeting in here, especially at a county council level, and maybe even a local level, to bring these things in and highlight for those performing arts centers our reflections program, how it can tie into being a good symbiotic relationship between PTA and those locations. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that's connecting with the sports teams is a very good idea. And you'll see that sports teams would often have entire offices directed towards community relations, to working with nonprofits that they specifically want to reach out to and want to connect with. So that's a really good idea. As well, we would see that it would be good in terms of the idea of fun. So you want things to be fun and engaging. And that's part of the purpose of sports. as well. I do think it would be really good in terms of male engagement. So we do have people of all genders who watch sports, but proportionally, we would see that well, depending on the sport, but we would see that. I think you're thinking of in the case of Tampa and Jacksonville, perhaps in terms of the football teams there, that those would have a disproportionate amount of appeal to male PTA participants, male community members. So it would be good in terms of that as well. Yes, Melanie.
Yes, thanks again. Great presentation. I was just thinking while you were speaking that there are certain boundaries that we'll have to respect when we go to some of these venues. Because I remember once we had our reflections, Orange County Council, we had our reflection ceremony at the Jewish Community Center, and they would not allow certain food for us to bring in certain food. So we have to realize that we have to respect certain boundaries. And also recently we had our county council awards ceremony and in an area of Orlando that a lot of people would not venture in. And I did hear local unit members like, I'm not going there unless we have security. We're not going there, but we have to be respectful of that. And it's a great thing to take it to the community. I've always maintained that we should. We do get some pushback that it has to be on campus because we're serving that community. So I'm glad we're having this presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, it would be important to have meetings in all kinds of locations. And it might even be especially useful to have them in places that would have some type of social stigma, because many times groups would be left out and excluded. This is part of the idea of marginalization, is the certain areas, certain communities as seen as either less than or seen as somehow bad. So if you are able to have meetings in locations with groups who would be marginalized or excluded, it would be a way to encourage them to be part of PTA, to show that they matter as well to lessen the barriers. Because if people are reluctant to go to certain parts of town, certain neighborhoods, and they attend and it goes perfectly well and they're fine and they meet people who are part of the community, then that can go a long way in terms of lessening the amount of stigma against marginalized communities.
You have Carolyn.
Nick, did you see my hand?
Oh, I'm sorry. No. Okay, it blended. Okay, yes, sorry.
So thank you for mentioning about going into communities that aren't normally visited, because those are normally the people who don't think they have a place in PTA as well. And if we show everyone that there's a place for them and that they belong, they're much more likely to join and see what a great advocacy association we are. But my question was actually on a part of the presentation that Diana did, and she made such a valid point about being aware of scheduling. The times that you hold your meetings impact, just as location does, who attends and who feels as if they belong. If your meetings are held at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're saying that you only want parents who do not work outside of the home generally. If they're all held in the same location, it's the same thing. We only want parents from a particular area. As the previous speakers have said, thank you for bringing some of this to our attention. And for those of us who already knew about it, for reminding us to be more inclusive of times, of locations, of all of the things that make people not feel othered, as you said, Nick, but feel a part of PTA. Thanks.
Thank you. Gamal.
To piggyback back off of that, also not only that, but the accommodations. Sometimes we need to see, can we make arrangements for childcare? A lot of times when these meetings happen, if you're at a middle school, you may have the issue of it not being a time when it's comfortable for an elementary child to be left alone, or somebody at a high school. And so is there a possibility of trying to arrange a partnership for childcare? Whether it's a room with a you know, the children who are not PTSA members or not directly engaged in that school's activities, the parents can come and their children can be there, left there in the media center where people be reading books to them, some sort of structured supervision. I think that may also help to engage more people to come out and engage. I'm not going to say add pizza onto it, but you know, if there is a food element, a lot of times that's the other thing with scheduling. People are looking at two things: childcare and food. If this meeting is going to run late, you know, I still have to prepare food, I have to get homework done, I have to do this done. Once we start eliminating the childcare, we start eliminating the food issues. Sometimes it could increase attendance, and not just attendance, but also engagement. The big thing is the engagement of people who, you know, will, even if they can't make it, they'll make arrangements to be involved one way or another, whether it's getting on a Zoom or something that it goes along with that meeting. So childcare and food are definitely two other things that, you know, even as we move things around, could be impactful for helping people get more involved and more engaged.
Yeah, thank you. Really good, good comments and relevant to the experiences of many working parents.
Thank you. Nick, I had my hand raised. Sorry.
Oh,
to
yes,
start with
okay.
My background. Three things. I also wanted to comment on Orange County's awards because they were in an old school, very historically significant, and it was very cool. I was one of those like reluctant because I knew the neighborhood, and but it was fantastic and it was fabulous, and we met new people. And I wanted to point out, I believe Broward County is also one of those counties who thought outside the box. And instead of doing the typical pay $50 a head to do something last year, you know, it was a picnic or it was a celebration where more people could come and participate. But the most thing I got out of the presentation, which I really love, and I think because I love history, is just thinking about, I'm always about programming with PTA because I think we are starving to produce and create free programming for our schools and our students. But I love the historical walk that you talked about just in our own towns. Even if it's a webinar where we historically walk through, you know, I live in a historic community of Sanford, Florida, and there is so much history here and parts of town that people don't even know about. You know, it's Celery, also known as Celery City. But just walking along the riverfront, there are these historic plaques that talk about the town. And I, you know, my son, that's not something they did in the school system. So I think if schools and our PTA leaders think about this stuff, about how we can incorporate our history and diversity more, what a great programming idea to the one who gives out the DEIJ awards. Committee. I love that idea, and I hope everyone goes and shares this presentation. Please, it is recorded. It will be on floridapta.org.
I think Kay has a comment or question. Kay Hawkins.
I have a comment. If you've never gone to St. Augustine and walked through some of the areas there where Martin Luther King was, and all back through that area that you really think you shouldn't, there's a lot of history back there. There's churches and that sort of thing. And every chance I get, I love to go to St. Augustine and walk. It's very interesting. And if you take the trolley, it will take you through some of those areas so that you know where would be good places to walk, to just kind of stop and take in what is there as far as the history.
That's a great idea. Thank you for the suggestion.
If I could also add something, you were speaking of, we were speaking of including different types of families. I know, for example, in Miami, we have different museums, the history of the History Museum downtown. So if you research the different museums, there are museums that are offering free museum days. Like on the first Saturday of the month is the History Museum, second Saturday of the month is the Art Museum. So even if just by letting families know that this is a free event, we can get, you know, a whole group of people going there. Like, for example, Miami-Dade, we can organize you know, a museum day, and that includes everybody, because those that are not able to pay for a museum having 2 and 3 kids, and, you know, those that are, it's just all inclusive. So that would also be, it's a free resource that a lot of people are not aware that we have. So just wanted to put that information out there.
Thank
That's
you
great.
very
And it
much.
looks like you have someone who's interested in the chat area.
I did want to note that Vanessa put something in the chat if she wanted to come off mute and share.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, no, I think it's a great reminder that holding meetings at places where we typically wouldn't hold them or in historical places is just a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think so too. That just by being in a different place, it can spark different thinking, spark different ideas. So that can be really useful.
Did you read Gamal's perspective there? Those concerned about going into the neighborhoods because of security needs should be mindful that people in those communities may feel the same way going into secure neighborhoods. I have a friend who's famous for saying just because it's gated doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah, the idea of the social stigma of being marginalized, that many of these are based off of stereotypes of both different groups as well as different neighborhoods. So many times these are not accurate, or they're not put in context, or they're exaggerated. So every group has to be included, and that's just the way to both enhance knowledge, to improve the experience of PTA, but to also increase the amount of engagement and numbers of PTA, but to be fully comprehensive advocates for all groups. So that means including all people and making the effort.
Well, thank you, Nicholas. If there's no other comments or questions, Carolyn can close up with her diversity of thought. Thank you to your team for putting this event together today. I love it.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Nicholas. This was good. Reminders of how we as a society, we as an association, should be embracing community, which is one of the 4 places that PTA functions: home, school, places of worship, and community. Not just school, not just in our child's school, but in our communities in this case, so that we may embrace all of our children. Please take what was shared with you today to heart and put it into practice. I remind you that registration for the 2024 Leadership Convention is open until the 1st of July. We found out, you guys are hearing this first, that you may have an issue getting a room if you don't already have one. If that is the case, please reach out to the Vice President of Leadership Development at vp.leadership@floridapta.org. We do have a running waiting list. We have a few rooms. They are not through the website, but we have a few rooms that we can make arrangements for you. But the hotel block for right now, for the first time ever, is absolutely sold out. Yes, yes. We have lots of people registered, and I'm so very much looking forward to seeing all of you, but it's not too late to bring a friend or family member. All righty, so thanks for joining today. Thanks to the committee again and the Education Commission for all that you do. Stay dry, everybody. So I'm looking at the weather now, and of course it is storming here in Miami, but apparently the whole state is supposed to be a soggy mess for the rest of the week. So stay safe, stay dry, and advocate, advocate, advocate. Bye-bye.